If you need an explosive upper body for your sport, or you just desire to have one because that's one of your goals, then I'm going to be sharing with you 10 different exercises to develop your explosive strength of the upper body across 4 different movement patterns. That's your horizontal push, horizontal pull, vertical push, vertical pull. Now, before we get into the actual exercises for the explosive strength, I have to say this or I wouldn't feel good as a coach. Your upper body doesn't respond the same way to explosive movements like your lower body does with the plyometrics and different jumps and things, okay? Your upper body is going to be more reliant on overall brute strength in order to produce power compared to your legs. So a good benchmark, and this doesn't mean you can't do any of these, but your main priority should be focusing on getting strong if you're not at least 1 times body weight on your press, like your bench press, okay? Stronger athletes get more out of power work. That's why I'm saying get strong. Now, me personally, for something like a row, I think it should be damn near similar to your bench press. That means you have a strong press and a strong pull, meaning that you can still stabilize with what you're gonna do. Because with power output, your stability is a huge piece. All right, enough ranting. Let's get into the exercises. The first category we're getting started with is a vertical push, and we're going with the good old-fashioned push press. This is so transferable to pretty much every sport because it's going to link your lower body, your core, your upper stability, and your overall output of your pressing power overhead, okay? Now, with all power-based exercises, this is one thing I want all of you to really understand, okay? The volume needs to be low in terms of reps. You can up the sets, but the amount of reps you're doing, if you're doing a power-based movement and you're like an 8, 9, 10 rep range, you're not really training power at that point, because what ends up happening is that you, as the reps go on, your bar speed slows, your intensity slows, you accumulate fatigue, and you don't end up pushing with the same speed, effort, and power that you could as your first few reps. And when you're trying to create the adaptation of power, you have to be, it's just like your speed, you have to be around like 90-95% of your like best effort, not like the effort of that day, but best effort, in order to reach a high enough stimulus to tell your body, hey, need to get fucking more powerful, okay? Now, training power doesn't always have to be peak power output. You can go for strength, okay? So they all work together. So this is the push press. Okay, now there's a few different ways you can do the push press. You can do it in a front rack position, and you can also go off the back, which I kind of like. Now, if you go off the back, you're gonna have to go from a high bar position. You're gonna have to have good shoulder mobility. And there'll be a little bit greater contribution from your legs, but all good. Just means you can go heavier. Okay, our next exercise is for a vertical push. We're gonna be using the landmine. If you don't have a landmine, get a towel, stick it in the corner, put a barbell there, you're good, okay? So, yes, it's at like a 45-degree angle, but I'm looking at your body alignment, and your body alignment, since everything is at 45, it's all vertical, okay? Now, you can do unilateral variations of this. You can do a couple different things that I'm gonna show you. So we're gonna clump this kind of all in one, okay? So if you have the Viking press attachment, it's a great one, okay? But this is a squat to press, okay? So I'm at a 45-degree angle, I'm on the balls of my feet, I'm dropping down just slightly, driving through the glutes, finishing up violent. And if you know you're going hard enough and fast enough, if you're kind of scooting forward, okay? Okay, so that is the squat to press, okay? I love that one. Now, another one you can do is simply a split, or a split jerk. Front foot in line here, So when you jump and land, you're gonna have more of a base here. So the first way is the wrong way, but this way it's gonna feel awkward. Gotta have some core strength for this. Again, load, coil, explode. So that's gonna be your unilateral variation. Like I said, you can add some bands. I like adding the band because what it does, we got to think about what this device is, right? So in leverage and gravity and lines of angles and all that sciencey shit, okay? So when the weight is perpendicular to the ground, it's going to be its heaviest, okay? As I push this up, it gets more vertical and more of the weight's kind of going through the bar, so it gets easier, okay? So one way we can kind of fight that is to put some bands on, and it's just gonna add a little bit of tension as it stretches, so you get a little bit more of an even type of resistance, okay? With this one, you can't split your feet, right? So it's just now, the final one that I really like on the Landmine is called a row to press. Okay, it is upper body, but again, it's a lot of lower body, core, full body coordination, and that's really what I'm after, is that full body coordination with it. So when you're getting set up, you're gonna stand perpendicular to the actual Landmine. I prefer to have like my instep, or like right in the middle of my foot, in line with the edge of the barbell here. This back foot is back and about aligned with this plate that you have on, okay? Now, I'm getting in a nice little squat stance, my chest is up, I'm grabbing on a few inches away because I need room for my opposite hand to come up and under, okay? So I'm gonna set my back. First thing I'm doing is I'm driving off this back leg here, okay? As I press, I'm rowing, right? So it's all fluid, and then I'm coming up and under, pivoting my feet, and coming up and through, okay? Before I do this, you'll see, like, this is all about rotation and torque of the lower body. You'll see some people do this online, and I think it's, I'll be nice, not as good as it could be, where they'll jump and press. So they go, okay. When you do that, they say, yeah, rotational power. No, it's not, because you're pushing up vertically, and then unloaded, you're just simply flipping your hip. So how much power do I generate doing this? Versus if I have load, like a baseball swing, and I'm coming through, it's the same deal, okay? So I do a couple, build some speed. Now we're gonna get into the next category, the second category, which is vertical pull. Okay, in this vertical pull, we're actually gonna be pulling up. So this is gonna be more for rear delts, traps, things of that nature, versus coming down this way, which is gonna be more of your lats. So one of really kind of the back power training exercises are kind of challenging. There's not a lot that you can do compared to pressing, and especially the lower body. But a great one that you can do is a high pull variation, okay? So a high pull is almost like an Olympic lift, but you're just focusing, it's like an aggressive fucking upright row, okay? Is just the top position here, and you're trying to throw the bar as high as you possibly can, but the load's heavy, so you can't really get it past your chin, right? So two different variations. Well, there's a couple different variations. You go from the floor if you want to get a little bit more legs involved, go a little bit heavier. You can go snatch grip, which is going to put more of an emphasis, be a little bit harder on the back. And then you can go from a hang, or one that I really like, but I don't have set up here, is from pins. So you have pins set up just below the knee. or just the top of the knee, hips come through, you pull up high, okay? Again, with all this, it's max intent, okay? I'm trying to show it from the back so you can kind of see. It's a lot on the traps. It's a lot on the back. All right, next we're gonna hit our second vertical pull. Okay, so this, I'm gonna show you two different variations. It's gonna be primarily the lats, but you are gonna involve a little bit of triceps, okay? Now, the first variation, not quite as effective, but this is just a normal slam, but we're taking out our core and hip engagement, so we're not bending over. So a normal med ball slam, we're coming down, throwing the ball. This one, we're just gonna reach up, okay? And it's all the upper body, okay? So we're here. Okay, decent stimulus, not the biggest range of motion. Now the next one, similar variation, we're just down on the ground. And you can either use a Bosu ball or something that you can rest your low back on, okay? So now I'm gonna be able to reach over and throw from here. You'll see a lot of people doing this as a core exercise. It's not really a core exercise because you're just not using it that much. All the momentum's and force is generated back here, okay? The only other thing I think you would be able to do that I wouldn't even consider this like a true power exercise, but it could kind of be a replacement, is if you did a ski erg and you put it at the highest resistance, and it again did the same thing, limited the amount of hip and lower body movement and try to purely focus on the lats. This category is horizontal pull. So this is gonna be a majority of your lats and your back, okay? And this one, out of all of them, is going to be the most reliant on just brute strength and force output, okay? But I'm gonna show you a few that I think are gonna build both that and give you a little bit of the extra power base work, one that I really love if you can do it, okay? So the first one that I'm gonna show is called a power row. Just think of it as like a cheat row. You're trying to go as heavy as possible, be violent and be aggressive. So you get up in your normal barbell row position, okay, set your back. If this is like too awkward for you, just simply throw some plates underneath you or something underneath you to get you in a little bit better leverage position. Also, with this, like, I don't give a fuck how strong your grip is. If you need to wrap up for this so you can lift 40, 50 more pounds at a higher speed, like go ahead and do so, okay? So with the power row, again, here's a normal barbell row. Great movement. A power row. Okay, so I'm getting leg drive and building momentum and then coming up and pulling through as fast as possible, okay? With this, you could probably go heavier than you normally would with a standard barbell row. All right, the last category is horizontal pressing, okay? So this is the one probably most effective for developing overall power output and honestly the funnest. Okay, there's a ton of different med ball based exercises that you can do, but I'm gonna show you a few of my favorite plus different push-up variations and then some of the lifting, okay? So the first variation is just a stationary wall throw, okay? So here, push, load, push. You can then progress this if you want to get a little bit of your lower body involved, generate a little more power with the step and press. okay? You can also do a quick and rapid variation. All great options. Now, if you're looking for a unilateral variation, a little rotational power, the shot put throw is the way to go. Okay, so your shot put throw, I usually get just a little bit past arm's length. My arm's up at 90. You want your wrist and forearm stacked so you're not getting any of this. And you're honestly like pressing through the palm. You're gonna turn, rotate, load into that hip, press off the leg, and then come follow all the way through. Okay, next for our horizontal pressing variations and movements are push-up, plyometric push-ups. These are some of my favorite that we use throughout the Peak Performance program. The first one is just you're inside here, down, come on up. The reason I like this is because with clapping push-ups, a lot of athletes cheat it and they can just go there, and with power, it's all about follow through. So we're just trying to get up as high as I can. So when I'm coming down and coming up, trying to get my arms straight, because then I know, oh, I got 5-6 inches off the ground. Okay, so that'd be your first variation. Now, one of my favorite ones, because this works their stretch shorten cycle of the chest and really that explosiveness can come in, come out, is called a drop-in push-up, okay? And I'm gonna show you two different ways you can do the drop in, okay? So first drop in, here, come up and land, okay? So you get that eccentric force loading coming on out, okay? And getting back on up. The second variation is more of a repetitive, and you're really gonna hit that stretch shorten cycle on a deep stretch on the second rep once your hands are up, okay? Those three right there. I'm gonna show you one more because this one reminds me of throwing a stiff arm and putting someone in the ground. Okay, and it's an alternating plyometric push-up. So when I'm doing this, I'm coming down, pushing up, and when I'm pushing through with this arm, I'm trying to think over and across, like I'm shoving someone's head into the fucking ground and then coming on over, okay? All right, the last one, and probably the one that's gonna help you the most develop strength and power, is a banded bench press. So this is called dynamic effort, and where there's some accommodating resistance from the bands, okay? So the bands are gonna help pull this down faster on the eccentric, so you have to overcome that to work and get more mechanical tension, more force, more everything out of it. And then another thing you can do with the bands, it's due to that overspeed kind of eccentric, there's two different things you can do. If you're really trying to focus on a little bit more speed and explosiveness, there's something called an oscillating bench press, where you're really trying to teach your body how to turn on and turn off your muscles very, very rapidly. It's almost like a pulse rep. And then we have our traditional bench press, or banded bench press, where we're about 40 to 60% of our 1 rep max, and we're going anywhere 3 to 5 reps with it. So I'm gonna show you the oscillation without any weight so you can see it. But typically I'm doing this with about 20, 25, maybe 30%. I usually stay around like 135 when I'm doing this. So that might be a little bit higher, but if it gets too slow, then it kind of taken away what we're after, because with the oscillating bench press, we're trying to train the stretch shorten cycle, and that needs to be really fast. So if it's too slow, then we're not getting the most out of it. Okay, so for the oscillating bench press, we're here, little pulse, little pulse, little pulse, 3 to 4 reps, and then you're exploding on up, okay? So Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. I literally made this video because someone said top 10 best exercises for explosive upper body power, so I made it. And if you're an athlete looking for a more structured routine and progressions of different phases to help you become more explosive, stronger, and faster than you have before, then go ahead and check out the Peak Performance Program, where we have all-around multi-sport athletes, rugby, combat sports, and many more programs inside. Check out the link below, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, I'm gonna give you one more for a horizontal pull, which is a unilateral variation. And this is kind of a makeshift Kaiser that you can use at any gym. Kaisers are great for overall power output, and you can do a lot with them, but if you don't have that, not a fancy gym, okay, what you can do is get the stack, get a band, okay, you come underneath and over the top, and then what you're gonna do is pull the pin, hook one side over it, okay, then you're gonna grab the opposite band, pull the pin back out, get it in, and go through, okay? So this is gonna make it a little bit smoother, okay? If you just came in here and started cranking a row, you're gonna rip it up and that weight's gonna float for a bit and then come crashing down. With the bands, it's gonna make it smoother and it's gonna pull it down fast, but it's gonna be a little bit more fluid and allow you to really crank and get some good power output out of it. Now, if you don't care about any sort of stability work or anything like that and just crank power output, one thing I've done is put like a box or something here that I can put my opposite hand on to really lock in and really hyper focus on pulling with as much force as possible. If you don't have that, this lead leg, your core is gonna be heavily involved and gonna limit the amount of weight that you can do, but it's overall still very, very good, okay?